Dr. Thaleen stood in the shadows of Medbay Sector 12, her 4 fingers wrapped around a scanner. She watched the human soldier who had just walked into, muscular, his uniform torn at the chest. He smiled despite the deep gash on his arm. "Hey, Doc, got something to patch this up?" Thaleen blinked twice, confused not by his injury but by his energy. Most males of other species would faint from such a wound. But this human? He looked ready to fight again? Or something else? Her species, the Velexia, were proud scholars of biology. Their males mated once every 5 years and slept for weeks after. Too much strain, and their organs would collapse. Some even died. That was the way for most species in the galaxy. But then there were the humans, and they were different. For months now, Thaleen had observed them, especially the males. They laughed, flirted, moved constantly, and their desire never seemed to fade. They were always ready, always strong. It didn't make sense. How could a species handle that kind of constant pressure on their reproductive systems? How did their organs not break? She asked the council's biocode department. They laughed. One elder called her obsessed. Another warned her to stop watching humans that way. But she couldn't stop. It wasn't just curiosity. Was fear? If humans were truly limitless in their mating ability, what else were they capable of? The human soldier, his name tag read Jace, sat casually on the medical table. "Doc, you gonna stitch me up, or just keep staring?" Thaleen snapped out of her thoughts, quickly scanning the wound. No nerve damage. "Will heal," she muttered. He grinned. "Tough skin. Comes in handy." She tilted her head, then hesitantly asked, "May I ask a personal question?" Jace blinked, then chuckled. "Sure." "Shoot." Thaleen looked around to make sure no one else was listening. "Is it true that human males can perform mating rituals daily?" Jace's eyes widened. Then he burst out laughing. "Daily. Some guys, twice a day. Depends on how strong the coffee was." Thaleen nearly dropped her scanner. "Impossible," she whispered. "Our males must rest. Days, weeks, even after one session." Jace shrugged. "Maybe you guys need better cardio." She stared at him like he was a living miracle, a biological weapon. "How do your organs survive that much strain?" Jace rubbed the back of his neck. "I dunno. Practice, strong genes. Maybe we just like each other too much." Thaleen recorded the conversation discreetly on her internal data band. If this was true, human mating wasn't just impressive, it was a threat to galactic understanding of biology. Later that night, in her private chamber, she reviewed months of human behavior logs. No signs of damage, no fatigue from repeated mating. Recovery was rapid, and sometimes they got stronger. Some female species that had interacted with human partners even reported better health. What kind of species gives energy during intimacy instead of losing it? Thaleen submitted a private report to the Xenogenetic Research Council. Her subject line was simple: human reproductive endurance, possible evolutionary threat or gift. She expected silence or laughter again, but this time, the council replied in minutes. "Do not speak of this to anyone. Prepare for inspection. We're sending observers." The message ended coldly, but Thaleen felt her heart's beat faster. Something had changed. Her discovery wasn't just real, it was dangerous. And deep down, she feared what the galaxy would do next. Because if humans were that unbreakable in pleasure, what else could they survive? She stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep, outside her window. A human couple walked hand in hand through the station's artificial garden, laughing, touching, alive. Thaleen narrowed her eyes. Tomorrow, she would run full-body scans, and maybe ask one more question. Asterisk. Dr. Thaleen stood alone in Lab 7, eyes fixed on the holographic screen in front of her. A glowing human figure rotated slowly, layer by layer, revealing muscle, tissue, blood flow. And something strange. She leaned closer, her 2 hearts beating unevenly. No species in the galaxy had this level of regeneration, but the human male. It looked like he was built to endure, she whispered to herself. This is not normal. No rupture after repeated stimulation, no fatigue and glandular activity. Instead, The scanner showed something shocking. His internal tissues repaired faster after each session. Was it evolution? Mutation? Or something humanity had hidden from the stars? Thelene dug deeper into the results of her scan on Jace, the human soldier she had patched the day before. His reproductive glands were surrounded by micromuscle fibers that contracted. During strain to protect the organs, his blood flow increased during arousal. Not just for function, but for healing. Most species slowed down to conserve life. Humans, they accelerated as if driven by fire. She tapped on the screen, loading a comparison of alien species, her own kind, the Velexia. Showed degeneration after their once every 5-year ritual, the Grax males. Organ failure if pushed too far, the Lernac. Total coma after 2 attempts in the same season, but humans showed growth in vascular performance, stamina, even hormonal control. A ping echoed in the lab. It was a data packet from the Galactic Xenogenetic Committee. It read, "Show us. Demonstrate. Use your station's approved human male. Observation required within 48 hours." Thelene swallowed hard. They wanted a test, not just analysis, but performance, in the subject. Jace, the same human who had laughed. At her questions and grinned while bleeding, she found him in the cargo bay. Lifting a broken crate like it was made of feathers, Jace, she said softly, "Would you assist me in a biological study?" He blinked, wiped sweat off his forehead, and said, "Only if it doesn't involve needles." Thelene hesitated. "No needles. Just natural performance." Jace tilted his head. "I have no idea what that means." But when she explained, his eyes widened. "You want to monitor that?" She nodded, her face warm with embarrassment. "It's for science," she whispered. To her surprise, he laughed again. "Well, I guess I'm flattered." Back in the lab, she prepared the chamber, sterile, soft lights, sensors everywhere, to ensure fairness. The observers chose 3 alien females from different species, strong, mature, and curious. None of them had been with a human before. Now, they would document his reactions and theirs. The chamber sealed, the countdown began. Thelene watched from behind one-way glass as the door slid open. Jace stepped in, nervous but smiling. The aliens greeted him with slow bows and hushed voices. Then, silence. Minutes passed, then soft conversation, gentle contact. Her monitors lit up like a festival, heart rate stable, stamina rising, arousal consistent across all phases. The alien females all showed signs of pleasure, comfort, and shock. One even whispered, "He's not tiring. Is this normal?" After the session, Thelene ran immediate diagnostics. Jace's vitals were stronger than before. He had burned calories, yes, but no organ stress. His testosterone levels rose and fell perfectly. The other species would require medical support after such an encounter. But Jace, he asked for coffee. That night, the committee sent another encrypted message. "This cannot go public. If alien species learn of this, it could destabilize entire cultures. Continue research." Quietly, Thelene stared at the message and whispered, "It's too late," because the 3 alien females were already talking. And word was spreading fast. Not about lust, not about mating, but about something terrifying and exciting. Humans were unbreakable, and everyone in the galaxy wanted to know why. Jace never expected to wake up to a red alert with his name blinking across the station's loudspeakers. He rubbed his eyes and stared at the screen. Subject 118J. Report to Biodome 3 for reproductive endurance analysis. What the hell is reproductive endurance analysis? He muttered. His roommate, a furry Rhodaxian, peeked out from under the bunk. "Congratulations, human. Looks like you're becoming a legend, Jace." Didn't know whether to feel proud or terrified. Last week he had answered a few awkward questions from Dr. Thelene now. He was being summoned like some kind of biological weapon. The walk to Biodome 3 felt longer than usual. Every alien he passed stared just a little too long. Some looked curious, others hungry. The chamber was massive, circular, filled with plants and observation glass inside. 3 female aliens were already waiting. One was blue-skinned with 4 delicate arms. Another had glowing markings down her back. The third looked almost human, except for her silver eyes and translucent hair. They all stood silently, eyes locked on him. Dr. Thaleen greeted him at the entrance, holding a clipboard. "Are you ready for your test, Jace?" He blinked. "Can I at least know what the test is?" She nodded. "Your biological responses will be monitored during prolonged multi-species interaction." He squinted. "That sounds like a Science-Y way of saying..." "Yes," she said quickly. "You'll engage in physical intimacy." Under supervision, he froze, like cameras and stuff. "Of course," she replied, as if it was perfectly normal. "Why me?" he asked. Thaleen stared at him, her tone serious now. "Because you didn't break, and we need to understand why." Jace sighed and stepped inside. The chamber door sealed with a hiss. Sensors activated all around him, silently scanning his temperature, heart rate, stress level, and hormone spikes. The alien women approached. Slowly, one offering him a drink. The one with silver eyes whispered, "Don't be afraid, human." We volunteered, outside the glass. Dozens of scientists watched in silence. Some were stiff and judgmental, others scribbled eagerly. The test began slowly, hands, soft words, measured touches. Then gradually, rhythm picked up, tension shifted, and the real observations began. Thaleen adjusted the sensor feed as Jace's vitals rose. Instead of strain, his numbers stabilized. Instead of fatigue, he showed resilience, more surprising. The alien females responded in ways never documented. Before faster recovery, elevated neural activity, even emotional bonding. One of them gasped aloud. "He adjusts to our rhythm," another said in awe. "He reads our bodies better than our own kind." Thaleen's hand shook slightly as she recorded it all. It wasn't just physical, this was instinctive adaptation. The human body didn't dominate or collapse, it balanced. He didn't just survive the trial. He made each participant feel fulfilled. After an hour, the chamber opened again. Jace stepped out sweating, smiling, and somehow refreshed. He looked at Thaleen and said, "Please tell me I passed." She stared at her scanner. Then back at him. "There was no pass or fail," she whispered. "There was only confirmation." That evening, encrypted messages flew across the galaxy, one to the council, one to several empresses, queens, and tribal leaders. All contained the same words. The human male survived multi-species contact. 0 organ failure. No fatigue. Complete partner satisfaction. Recommend full-scale research. But the news couldn't be contained. Rumors exploded across space stations, alien social networks filled with mysterious phrases like, "The human test subject didn't break. He lasted longer than the machine. We must bring more to Earth." Jace became a name whispered across black markets, luxury clubs, and royal courts. Not as a soldier or a worker, but as something far more powerful, a mate that could never be broken. Asterisk, it began with a box of glowing flowers. Jace found it outside his door one morning, flowers that only bloomed in a vacuum. There was no name, no message, just a small symbol burned into the box, a royal seal of the Jareen matriarchy. He frowned, confused, until Dr. Thaleen messaged him an hour later, "You've received a proposal." "A what?" He typed back. She replied instantly, "Marriage. You are now considered a high-value mate across at least 6 species. You may receive more." Jace stared at the box, unsure whether to laugh or run. The test had been awkward, sure, but now this. He barely had time to process before the station's shuttle bay received its next visitor. A ship from the Larnacy Empire, a glowing spiral-shaped vessel built for nobility. When the ramp lowered, out stepped a tall alien woman in armor and silk. Her guards stayed behind as she walked straight up to him. "I am High Duchess Velshana. My people mate once a year. You are different." Then she dropped to one knee and held out a glowing orb. "Join my bloodline," she said, "and I will make you a prince." The station went silent. Even the guards stared in disbelief. Jace stammered, "I'm just a cargo guy." Velshana smiled. "You're more than that now. You're living proof that love doesn't need limits." Later, Felon pulled him aside. He was looking exhausted and stressed. 3 more ambassadors have booked private meetings with you," she said. "The Karosha Queen sent jewelry." The Marnix's priestesses sent sacred oils. One even sent. Fruit? Fruit? He asked. She nodded. Fertility fruit. It's very rare. Jace paced the floor of the medbay while the security team discussed how to handle the attention. Every message was some variation of, "We do not wish to use the human. We wish to treasure him." Even the council began to worry because this wasn't just flattery. It was desire mixed with diplomacy. One message stood out. The humans. Endurance is secondary to his empathy. He listens. He adjusts. He does not dominate. He learns the human race was no longer seen as chaotic mammals with reckless instincts. They were seen as ideal partners. Loyal, patient, unbreakable. But not everyone was happy. A jealous Marnox. Noble issued a public warning. Humans will ruin our traditions. They mate too often. They bond too quickly. But his words fell flat when his own daughter was seen sending a crystal sculpture to Jace. Outside the science bay, groups of alien women gathered daily. Some held signs like, "Equal mating rights for all species. Let humans choose." Their bonds. One carried a banner with Jace's face drawn in gold and the words, "He doesn't break, and he's kind too." Jace watched all this unfold with a strange mixture of confusion and fear. "I didn't ask for this," he told. Thaleen, she nodded. "I know. But the galaxy sees something they've never seen before. Mate, who cares?" In the days that followed, Jace received 42 proposals, 10 from royal houses, to 8 from war leaders, and 1 from a species that reproduced through song. Some offered wealth, ships, planets. One just wrote, "You made me feel alive for the first time. Please let me serve you." The council tried to stop it. They declared all human mating proposals illegal without psychological review. But it was too late. Alien news networks played dramatic clips of Jace walking past hopeful women. Romantic. Music, soft narration, hashtags like #HumanHeart, #GalaxyMate went viral. He had become a symbol of connection, of strength, of what was possible, not because he was perfect, but because he didn't treat love like war. He made others feel safe. And across the stars, alien women whispered to one another, "Find a human. They don't break, and neither will your heart." The galaxy was changing. Not with weapons, but with whispers. Not through invasions, but invitations. And the council was afraid. Meetings turned heated. Ambassadors argued over protocols and preservation of cultural mating limits. One cold-blooded senator from the Galactic species slammed his claw on the table. "If we do not stop this now, our males will be replaced by humans." But behind closed doors, even some of those senators were receiving anonymous letters from their own daughters. Letters that read, "They made me feel seen, across planets." Female-led societies began ignoring their ancient restrictions. The rule that one could only take a partner after a holy moon cycle? Ignored the ritual that demanded 5 years of isolation after bonding? Abandoned because now they had a new option. Humans didn't make them wait, suffer, or beg. They simply held them. On a desert moon called Verkosevin, a group of alien women stormed a temple. They weren't holding weapons. They were holding earth flags and banners that read, "We choose warmth over tradition." Thaleen watched it all from her lab, stunned. What started as a study had become a movement. A rebellion, the rebellion of the flesh, they called it. Not because of lust, but because of freedom. In secret channels, more and more alien women posted their stories. "I was touched without fear. He asked if I was comfortable. He didn't claim me. He invited me." For them, humans were more than just durable. They were gentle. And that gentleness shattered centuries of cold customs. The tipping point came when 3 alien priestesses abandoned their shrines. They fled to Earth, gave up their sacred status, and each publicly married a human. Galactic media went into meltdown. Sacred brides break celibacy with Earth males. Is humanity the end of divine restraint? One broadcast just said, "He didn't break hand, neither did she." Back on the station, Jace sat in the corner of the mess hall, stunned by a new document on his tablet. It wasn't a contract or a proposal. It was an invitation to speak. At a cultural summit, topic: the psychological benefits of human mating patterns on cold-blooded species. He stared at the screen and whispered, "I'm a speaker now." A small alien girl beside him giggled. "You're a hope," she said. Then quickly walked away, blushing. Dr. Thelen received a message from her mother that evening. It simply read, "Our council has lifted the Velexia mating restriction. I met a human. He listened." She covered her face, shaking with disbelief. The revolution had reached home, but not everyone was celebrating. Radical traditionalists across multiple species began forming what they called the Preservation Front. They hacked Earth communication satellites, sprayed anti-human graffiti on trade stations. In one sector, they even blocked human ships from landing. Their chant echoed in the air, "Protect the blood. Ban the brakeless." But their fear only added fire to the rebellion, because now, this wasn't just about mating. It was about choice, about owning your body, about saying yes when you wanted to, not when someone told you to. More alien women fled old homes to visit Earth. Many didn't want mates, just conversation. They wanted to feel what humanity offered, not strength, not power, but connection, and everywhere. One phrase kept echoing louder. "They don't break, and neither will we?" It started with a slap in a crystal-lit ballroom on the moon city of Verax Prime. An alien noble struck a human across the face. The reason? His daughter had left her royal bondmaid for a cargo technician from Earth. "You've corrupted her with your endurance, with your softness," the noble shouted. The humans didn't fight back, not with weapons, but the galaxy did. Not with missiles, but with messages. Across dozens of planets, alien women wrote stories, shared secret pictures, not of lust, but of smiles, soft hands, warm shoulders to cry on. Humans had offered something other species didn't know they were missing: emotional safety. And for many, that was stronger than any physical desire. But the old powers wouldn't give up quietly. The Preservation Front declared war not with soldiers, but with culture. They spread propaganda. Humans inject illegal enhancers. Their bodies are fake. Their love is a trap. They created strict border checks for human males. Some were even detained and tested publicly. Humiliated, it was no longer just resistance. It was a war of attraction. On one cold station orbiting Jarnak 3, a group of alien women held a silent protest. They stood outside the council gates, wearing nothing but Earth symbols painted across their skin. One of them held a sign that read, "We're not addicted to their bodies. We're addicted to being loved, right?" Inside a hidden server on Mars, Jace received a message. Encrypted, urgent, emotional. It was from Duchess Velshana. It's the one who had proposed to him weeks ago. She wrote, "They've banned me from seeing you. I've been called unclean, but still, I remember your voice, your calm, your gentleness. Don't let them silence you." Jace sighed, staring at the data stream flooding in. There were thousands now, alien females from every quadrant asking for advice, support, even just words. He was no longer just a test subject. He had become a symbol of rebellion. The Human Affairs Department stepped in to protect him. They offered security, hidden housing, even relocation, but Jace refused. "If I disappear, they'll say I was fake," he said. So instead, he stood on a broadcast platform one night and told the stars his truth. "I didn't choose this," he said, voice steady. "I'm not perfect. I'm not magic. I'm just a guy who listens, who touches softly, who stops when you say stop." Then he looked into the camera and added, "And if that's dangerous, maybe the galaxy was broken before I got here." His words exploded across the networks. Work tag Gentleheart, human, hashtag day, DONT, break hashtag permission is power on a cold warship near the edge of the system. A Marnix captain listened silently. He turned to his crew and growled, "We can't fight this with guns. This is deeper than war. This is connection." Meanwhile, Dr. Thelen was summoned to the highest court in the Galactic Core. They wanted her to denounce her research. They offered promotion, wealth, freedom if she would just say humans were unstable, unnatural. She stood, tall, and whispered, "No, they're not unstable. They're unshakable." Across the stars, tension grew thicker. Old traditions clashed with new emotions. And in the center of it all stood one species that never asked to be worshipped. They just wanted to hold hands, to kiss softly, to make love without fear. And that was more powerful than any war ever fought, because the human heart, it didn't break, it healed. The council hall was filled to the edge from every system, every caste, every belief. Some came in flowing robes, others in armor, but all of them came for one reason, to witness history. The center of the room stood a single human. Jace, once a nameless cargo handler, now stood before the galaxy's most powerful leaders. Not with an army, not with weapons, but with a quiet strength that refused to be broken. "Let the hearing begin," called the High Arbiter, voices echoed. From every corner, he is disrupting ancient customs, he seduced the sacred, he threatens bloodlines. But then, a voice from the crowd, soft but steady. "I am not broken," said a Jaran priestess, standing without her veil. Another stepped forward. "My people made me wait 10 years for touch," he gave it. With kindness, one by one, alien women stepped from the shadows. Warriors, royals, scientists, workers, each told their story, not of lust, but of being seen. Heard, respected. Dr. Theline stood too, trembling but proud. "This isn't about mating," she said. "It's about evolution. Not of the body but of the soul. The human gift is not endurance, it's empathy." Then the council turned to Jace. "What do you say to all this?" He took a deep breath, looked around the room. Aliens with shimmering eyes, glowing. Skin and trembling fingers stared back, waiting, hoping, and he said, "I'm just a man. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to change your laws, your traditions, or your gods. But if the way I love is dangerous to your world, maybe your world needs to change." Silence, then unexpectedly applause. Not polite. Not diplomatic, but raw. Emotional, defiant applause. A representative from the Marnex tribe stood and tore their treaty in half. "We reject the ban," he declared. "The humans have taught us what our own kind forgot." Soon after, a new document was created, one not written in bloodlines or binding vows, but in simple truth. The Declaration of Voluntary Bonding, it read, "No species shall be denied the right to love, to bond, or to choose partnership with another. So long as it is mutual and freely given, all humans shall be protected as a recognized interspecies." Emotional support civilization. In honor of that moment, the first interspecies festival was launched, held on Earth in the green valleys of New Terra. Alien women danced barefoot with human partners. Songs were sung in 10 languages, and stars shimmered above like blessings. Jace stood quietly at the edge of the festival, watching it all. Velshana approached, taking his hand. "You didn't just survive the test." She whispered, "You changed the question." He smiled, looking around at Joy. Laughter connection. "No," he said, "I just reminded them what it means. To hold someone and not let go." The stars above twinkled. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy didn't feel divided. It felt warm. Because the humans didn't just mate, they mended. And in a universe of cold rules and dying passion, that was the greatest power of all.